Like to call to order the January 7th, 2025 committee meeting of the Harris County Board of Education. At this time, I will entertain a motion that we approve our agenda for the evening. Motion made by new member, Mr. Johnston. Do I have a second? Mr. Goodnow, any discussion? All in favor? All right. And at this time, I will entertain a motion that we be excused to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent. Is that okay? Do I have a motion? Mr. Proctor, second. Mr. Johnston, any discussion? All in favor? We will be excused to executive session. All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion that we exit executive session. Ms. Oliver, second, Mr. Goodnow, any discussion? All in favor? All right. Welcome everyone to the January 7th, 2025 committee meeting of the Harris County Board of Education. We're going to reconvene at this time. Our mission is ensuring an excellent education for every child in Harris County, and our vision, one community committed to the well-being and preparation of every student for lifelong success in a global society. So that will take us to item E on our agenda, the public participation portion of our meeting. Dr. Finney, did we have any members of the public sign up to speak this
We
evening?
have no one that has contacted me, nor do we have anyone that has signed up to speak.
Mr. Lipp, did you want to speak? Just giving you the courtesy, sir. All right, so that will take us to item F, that the Harris County Board of Education review the attached meeting minutes from the board meetings held in December of 2024. Those are in your packets. I trust you will review those. And as always, if you have any revisions, please get with Ms. Ashley or Dr. Finney, or if you find any errors in there so that we can get those corrected. So that will take us to our discussion agenda and item G1, that the Harris County Board of Education listen to a curriculum department update from Dr. Denny. Good evening, sir.
All right, just a couple updates for you. On your first page, you'll see we're going to talk about the Georgia School Climate Survey and the Georgia Early Literacy Act update. So first up is the Georgia School Climate Survey, and I've included a package of everything in there about the school climate survey. I'm not going to cover it all tonight, but just give you a little bit of idea of what we've done so far. So first thing is, this used to be called the Georgia Student Health Survey, and it's been administered for many years, but they finally refined it, made the questions and the data that we get a little bit more actionable. And of course, instead of calling it the Student Health Survey, they're calling it the School Climate Survey. So if you take a look at page 24 in your manual or on the document, one of the big things, again, they've made it more actionable for districts and schools to use the data. So for example, if they say that, we'll say cleanliness is one of the things in the survey. If they're noticing that cleanliness, the scores aren't high, how can we take action on that? Well, we can look at areas of the school that may need to be cleaned more frequently. Or if there's a bullying question, if the students are saying that that's a high number, we can take action on that. Down at the bottom of that page, this is not just a survey for students. They have multiple surveys. They have the family survey, which we will start sending home probably here in the next couple of weeks via messenger. They have a staff survey and a teacher survey that the schools will be administering in their buildings. And of course, you also have the surveys for the students. There are two different surveys, a survey for students in grades 3 to 5, and then a survey for students in grades 6 to 12. And those have different questions depending on the grade band. If you go ahead and flip to page 25. These surveys are used as a component of the school climate survey, sort of that, it's another, I'm not going to say a portion of CCRPI, but it's like a ranking like the CCRPI. That's where you get from either 1 star to 5 stars. And I've highlighted each of these really go into that star climate rating component, but the pieces that I've highlighted on this page in yellow aren't part of that calculation, but the other parts are. And again, I know I'm going through this quick. There's a lot of information here, but I just want to give you the high level overviews. Go ahead and flip to page 26. And this talks about the number or the percentage of students, parents that you need to complete the survey in order for it to count and not hurt your score for the school climate surveys. And then, yes.
So answer one quick question really quick. So is there a number of surveys that you have to send out? I guess so like the parent. I mean, do you have to send out 100 of those, 200? I mean, send out to every student? Or what is,
So for the
what is the 51% of?
So 51% for our student population. So for example, if the high school has 1,700 students, we have to survey at least 51% of those students. So 850, I'm doing my math right, a little over 850.
Well, I guess my question is, do you survey all 1,700 and hope you get 51% back, or do you just only do 51%?
So we go in with the expectation that we're going to try to survey, we'll say all students. Of course, I haven't hit the part where we've sent the message, parents can opt out of that. So maybe we get down to say 1,500 students. And then on their designated day, if they're bringing students into the computer lab and surveying them, on that day, they may get, I don't know, if they had 100 classes that day, maybe they get 90 classes of 30 students. So that number of students would be, so we would check that and we'd say, okay, you've hit your 51% or you're below, we need to try to get more. So maybe they would run a day two. And that's not necessarily their plan. I'm just giving you a for instance. I could tell you with like third and fourth grade, they typically plan a day where all the students that have not opted out participate in and do it that day. A little bit easier when you only have 2 grade levels versus 4 grade levels.
So like on the parent survey, are you surveying all 1,700 families? Or
We-
do
Parents are a little bit harder, so we attempt to do that in a little bit different way. One, we do send a message home. At the elementary schools, basically anytime parents come in, I know they'll stick a Chromebook in their face and say, we would like for you to do this and get. So we continue to do that until the window closes to get that number up as high as possible. For the parent survey, it's not 51%. It's you've got to have at least 15 parents, which is a low number. We typically get up into the low hundreds on that. But we just continually try to hit our parents until the window's closed. All right, and then if you jump to page 29 for me. This is where so each individual survey is in your packet. So you can go through and read each of the questions that are there and the types of questions that are there for both students and grades 3 to 5, 6 to 12, parents, staff, and teachers. So that way you have all the information there. We have sent out a message to all parents in the district that they have the opportunity to opt out for their students in grades 3 to 12. We did one prior to the break on 12/15, and we sent one yesterday. We also have all the same information with access to the survey questions published on our website and is readily available for parents to see what's there prior to us doing the administration of the survey. Any questions on the Georgia School Climate Survey? All right, and then the next piece we have is just an update on the Georgia Early Literacy Act. So 2 things. One is a universal screener update. So the State Board of Education got together and approved the final list of screeners that would be approved to use in the state of Georgia. Our screener, FastBridge, did not make that list. So the top 5, and this is the last page in the curriculum section, page 68. So the 5 that are on that page are Amira, EPS, Star Universal Reading, M-Class, and iReady. Amira will be provided free by the state, which is the highest rated screener out there for all students in grades K-3. So right now, we did a little sketching, so I haven't really talked to the principals about this. I haven't really mentioned anything because this happened right before break. It looks like everything that we're doing will remain in place. The only difference is we're going to take the free screener Amira for grades K-3 and put that in place of FastBridge. Worst case scenario, I say worst case scenario, teachers have to sit down one-on-one with students to do the Amira screener, which we already do with FastBridge Early Reading, but we won't be doing that one anymore. Best case scenario, this is an automated artificial intelligence screener. In theory, our teachers could sit down with 5 students at their Chromebooks where the students are listening to and reading to the Chromebook. and going through the process. So it may speed us up a little bit. Still not a whole lot of details because we haven't really talked to the principals about this yet because we haven't had that time. But just wanted you to know that they have approved the screeners. Fastbridge was not on there. They are providing the top rated one free of charge for all school districts in the state of Georgia. And then the last thing I would mention is we are still looking at the high quality instructional materials in K-5. We had 3 resources we were looking at: Open Up EL Education, CKLA, and HMH into reading. Feedback from the teachers was they wanted to see 2 more. So we've invited McGraw-Hill Wonders and Savas My View to submit their materials. And in the next 2 weeks, we will be looking at those with the teachers and making a decision among the 5. That is all I have. Any questions on either of those topics? All right, thank you. Have a good night.
All right, so that will take us to item G2, that the Harris County Board of Education listen to a human resources update from Ms. Carlisle. Good evening.
All right, as we always do this time of the month, I have the vacancies. That list is really short, which is a great thing. We do have 1 position there open and 1 pending. And Dr. Finney asked, now that we're kind of mid-year approaching the second semester, that we kind of give you a big overview of what second semester is going to look like for our department. But before I go into what I have listed here, we are just finishing. We had to follow up from first semester into in-service days with our new hire talks or discussions, meeting with all of our new employees, and that has just been a really great experience meeting with them. It's been very positive, and we're compiling all that information. We had talked about putting that together. Of course, we're going to publish that and share that, and we'll have more information for you that probably during the February board retreat. But it's great to meet with our employees before they get too far down the road. And like I said, I just really appreciate all of the departments and schools making that. So that's been a really great experience for our department. And as far as mid-year, kind of here we are, January, heading towards last half of the year. Our fill rate currently, just give you some metrics for us right now. We're at 100% of our teacher fill rate, which is great. Our turnover rate, we're right about 3% on an average right now. Attrition is less than 1%. That means when someone leaves and we don't fill that position. And then our retention is right at 99.5%. But those are all really positive. I look back to last year and the numbers are just about the same. They're very, very close, within 1% or so, just looking back. And just looking here at the list I provided you for second semester preview, by no means is this a comprehensive list. Everything we do, these are kind of big picture overviews. But you can see in January, we're already jumping in. We've got 112 employees. We'll go through the recertification process, and that includes background checks to make sure they're staying with that. Recruit, and position allocation. We're really digging into class sizes right now and projecting student body to know what our instructional staff will need to be. The goal to see is who's going, what retirements do we have in the forecast versus resignations for the end of the year, and then looking at how to meet the needs of the district with internal transfers or putting people maybe where they want to grow to be. And a lot of those talks are going on, so a lot of projections. It's a time where principals do a lot of mid-year conferencing, progress checks with their employees, and we support them in that process. And then we roll right into February, and it's contract time, believe it or not. Looking at that, looking at budget process, working with them, doing additional personnel, and looking at strategies for transfer and or recruitment. And then you can see in March, that's when our professional contracts for our teachers and professional staff, that spring CPI time, that's when finance, HR all collaborate together. There's 3 cycles to that: October, March and July. The March one's pretty easy, but that's when we go through all of our personnel and how they're coded, certifications, any changes from the fall. It's very similar to FTE student count with that in the fall. And then we start looking at our recognition and achievements for our faculty and staff. Then in April, we continue to process classified employees. Those classified employees that will continue employment, that's when we bring that to you at the board meeting in that month. And we continue to check our list to confirm our staffing plan for the school year. Because our goal is 100% fill rate in every class with a highly qualified and effective teacher or professional. So that is a critical month. I've been stressing a lot that April is very important that we have everything nailed down. And in May, when those schools ending, we're looking forward to graduation. We look forward to celebrating our retirees and all of the achievements of the year. So that's kind of a roadmap. There's lots of little stops along the way. Be happy to answer any questions or. Sure. I concur with that. That is a great, yeah, we're right here in the middle of things. Exactly right. We are blessed and we are fortunate. And it's a great thing when other districts, when someone finishes a career and they say, hey, I want to do it again, but I want to cross the river and come to here. So we all have the right to come. All right.
Any other questions? Please, Paula. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, that will take us to item G3. The Harris County Board of Education listen to a support services update from Ms. Baker. Good evening.
Evening, everyone, and not too late to say Happy New Year, is it? Happy New Year. This evening, I have some registration dates to share with you, and I'll start with our pre-K registration for 2025-26. As we've done in the past, we will have our pre-K pre-registration process in a 3-step process. So the first process of that is that pre-K application window will open on February 18th. And it will close on March 24th. And this period is for any child in Harris County who will turn 4 years old by September 1st, 2025. The pre-K seats are limited. I told you last year that number was changing for the number of seats in those classes. So pre-K classrooms now will be capped at 20. So at 20. And those seats will come on a first come, first served basis based upon how the students are approved. After we complete the pre-K application, the pre-registration process, our step 2 is our pre-K spot sign-up day. And this works as such. If a student is approved, the parent will receive an email, and that email will be a link for the parent to access on sign-up day. Sign-up day application, the link opens at 7 a.m. We'll timestamp all the applications and all the spots for each school based upon the time that the parent goes in and makes the registration. And that's how we'll assign spots. When we get to 20, of course, per school, when the classes fill up, then of course, the students will go on to a wait list. Okay, then once we get parents approved with the application process and they go in and reserve their spot, we're asking them to complete the OLR for their students between April 9th and April 30th for pre-K. So we want to get those numbers and those classes filled before April 30th so that we'll know what numbers are. And of course, after April 30th, if we have spots that are available, we'll open it up so other people can register if they choose to do so for each respective school. And we do want to begin publicizing our pre-K registration next week so that we can get the word out to the community. And we'll start again, of course, February 18th. Everybody will be ready to go ahead and begin the pre-K pre-registration process. Yes. We may have one or two that may have 1 or 2 vacancies. But for the most part, we were looking at, a cap of 18 to make sure we met class sizes. Because I know every class does have at least 18 students. Right. So any questions about pre-K pre-registration and the registration process? All right, so our next set of dates will be for our kindergarten registration dates, which we are projecting to open on April 14th. And we're asking all pre-K, all kindergarten, upcoming kindergarten students to register between Monday, April 14th through Wednesday, April 30th. Along with that, we're also going to open up the window for our upcoming first through 12th grade students. They will have between April 14th through May 30th to complete their OLR. And the reason that we are looking at our kindergarten registration dates to hopefully cap at April 30th is because we need to make sure we determine the number of students that we have so we can determine the number of teachers. As you know, our student enrollment dictates our number of classes, class sizes, as well as our number of teachers. So we need to have those numbers in place so that we can go ahead and begin planning for next year. And we will begin advertising these dates either late March or early April, probably late March for kindergarten and then early April for the first through 12th. Because we do want to get those classes filled as best as we can before we go into next week. Any questions? All right. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Ms. Baker, hold on, sorry, just 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I would just like to compliment you and your staff for all of the upgrades that you've made to the pre-K registration and made it. I'm gonna tell you, when I first started on this board, and I can remember doing this, it was like an old school concert. You had to get in line and camp out by the box office to get the tickets that you want. Now it's like a Taylor Swift thing. Everybody just goes online and does it. It's still, it's great.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, have paid for Taylor Swift tickets, I know this is a lot smoother process than that, but kudos to your team and yourself for all the modifications you've made. I hear nothing but compliments about the way that this is done now. It's fair, it's it is much more streamlined and very effective, and we don't have people camped out at our schools at odd hours of the morning, bringing up RVs and things like that like we used to. So it's great for the parents, it's great for the students, and it's great for the schools. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
We appreciate that.
All right, so that will take us to item G4, that the Harris County Board of Education listen to a facilities and technology update from Mr. Fisher. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. So, on your action agenda, you have two things that will be coming from me. I'm going to talk about them first in my discussion points. We have our turf and track update that will be replacing the turf. Our current turf is 12 years old at the high school stadium. And so we put this out because we've got to do it for a safety issue. It's getting to where it won't be certified anymore to pass to be used. So it's necessary to get this done this year. We sent it out, got two bidders. And as you see, the one that we're recommending is the Hellas company. It's the same ones that did the turf in the indoor practice facility, and is also the ones that did the turf originally. So they included all the stuff we needed. They gave us the warranty we were looking for. The other bidder did not have that warranty that we asked for. It was a few years shorter. They didn't include the bonding in their price as well. And there was additional costs for the padding. So Hellas, with all those things considered, did come in underneath them. And we know their product.
Is that under that information on health? Is that under our action?
Yes.
Yes, it's under action. So questions you have about that? I'm sure there's going to be some with that.
So you mentioned the certification process. So when does that take place? So that after we install the new
Mhm.
turf, then who comes out and
They
certifies?
come
it?
out, the company comes out and certifies that it's safe. It takes the pressure and everything that they have to put on it for those steps, those cuts and
So the
everything.
install company comes out and
Yes,
does that?
and they have specs they have to do with it.
Okay.
And they give us the certificate.
So if they find that something doesn't pass, then what do?
They can fix it.
They fix it. Okay, all right.
So make sure I understand.
Sure.
The company that's installing it is also certified?
Yes. That's the way that they do it, like that industry, that's the way it works.
I'm with you. I hear you. Any other questions regarding the turf? So, Mr. Fisher, what is the timeline for this?
They'll start late May, depending on when things finish up with our spring athletics, probably around graduation, maybe a couple days before, and they plan to have it done mid-July. And it's 45 days.
And what happens to the old turf?
It is removed and whatever, if we need to get it or whatnot, some of it for other pieces. Someone has asked for
Yeah.
some parts of that.
I know that they wanted to put some in the baseball locker room and the batting
Batting
cages and
yes.
I think softball asked for some of it and I don't know who else, but Okay.
Those are the two that have already spoken to me about it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I see the breakdown for the total pack. What if we didn't want to do all of them?
They will break it into different installs, but since we've rewarded or we're looking at rewarding them the contract, then we would be obligated to do that at some point when we do it.
How long
We
is the
don't have to do
contract?
it at the same time.
How long is the contract good for?
If there is no date on it, this would be just binding and when we do it.
Gotcha. So whenever we're doing the turf first and then whenever we're ready to do the track,
Yes.
then we would do the track.
Absolutely.
Right.
And they would still, and the price is still at that point.
So I had a question and a request. I don't know, you probably already heard this as well. Would it be possible when we are doing the track to add another jump pit for track and field?
I don't know, because we've got the two pits, the triple jump and the long jump at different ends right now. That'd be something we'd have to talk to them about and see how that would work. If it's feasible with the size and everything with this within the stadium specs.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Yeah, but they're on the same runway.
Right,
and like behind,
meaning on the opposite ends of the run lane. That's what he means. Am I correct?
yes, sir.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put words in.
No, you're fine.
No, in hosting track and field events that I've been involved in and gone to see, that those jumps are the most popular events at the track and field games. So having another one would benefit and let them move through it quicker if we had
Right.
that availability. But if it's not feasible to add it, then I understand. Any other questions about the field? Go ahead.
All right, then the next one is with the new elementary school, and I talked about this last month. We have to get a site survey to send to BOE for their approval of the site. We got to get an environmental survey. That we worked with our architect, Southern Architectural and Engineering to do this, and they had, I believe it was 4 companies submit for this survey, and they're recommending the Adams and McLean. And it should be after that RFP for the turf in your packet as well.
Yeah, you'll also have this as an action item, so
Yes,
all that
this is action
information
as
is
well.
there.
And the total was $27,450, I believe is the exact number. So, and they were actually the cheapest one, and that's using the LiDAR, which will do it from an aerial thing and basically shoot lasers out to measure the different things, and then the sewage. And this is something we have to do no matter what it is. For the site for Godot approval.
to submit to the state.
Yes.
And this
We
was never done on this property before this, correct?
Yes.
Not this one. We've had a survey done, but not the environmental survey that we need to get Department of Education approval.
Survey was done when we
When we
sold the
purchased it,
house.
yeah.
Right.
Property. That was attached.
So
to it.
this is for the environmental impacts and stuff.
Sure. Okay, very good.
Okay, questions about that? All right, now to the easy stuff. Got our results back on our GMA audit during the break. There was 4 recommendations. They were all pretty easy to obtain. The first one was continuing our safety and training that we already do with our staff. So that we're going to keep doing that. We're not going to stop. The second one was adding blinds to the windows in some of the classrooms that have these bigger windows next to the door. So it's not as easy to see through should there be some kind of intruder or whatnot. They can't see what's in there. That's the purpose behind that. So that's something we're looking into, how we want to approach that and what method to use, if it's blinds, curtains, whatever. So
Well, you've already taken a lot of steps at the
Yes.
fronts of the
Yes.
buildings and some of the exterior
yes,
windows that.
this
that
is if
face-
they were to get into school, it's inside there at the classrooms.
Ah, gotcha. Okay,
So that's what that recommendation is.
so this would be the inside door that faces the hallway.
Yes.
Okay, I misunderstood. Okay,
And then duplicate the evacuation kit, have a duplicate one in a different part of the school. So that if you can't get to that one, you can get to this one, just so you have access to something still. And then the last one was something we've been working on all along, and it's keeping the classroom doors closed and locked, even when you're in there or not in there. And that's one of the recommendations, is continue working on it. It's not widespread, but one door open is one area of vulnerability.
so they found some.
Yes, when we were going through, there was some doors.
Do we know where they were?
Yes, it was at different schools. It wasn't just one school or anything. And it's different reasons teacher went to the bathroom, quick things like that, but it's one of those we just got to build a better habit.
Yeah, because I think in a lot of after the shootings have occurred, when the studies they follow up on, they found out that lots of times they entered in a door that had been left open.
Right. And just to touch on that, with Appalachia, the student actually went back to his class, and because the door was locked, the student came to open it for him and saw he had the gun and didn't open them, and no one was injured in that class. He went next door, and that room was open, and that's where most of the injuries and fatalities were. So that is an important thing that we gotta work on. All right, in your packet, I also received, and you've asked about this earlier with the Evolve, the weapons detection system. We got that quote last week, I believe it was, at the end of last week. I had sticker shock just because those numbers kind of blind me, but there's ways to go about that. And this is just looking at it, a comprehensive security plan, trying to protect things. The only thing we cannot divide out into multiple years of payment is the installation, which is, I believe it was 40,000 in there. That's the installation and training. But all the other things we can divide it out into multiple years. If you were to look at it.
Now, one thing too, that one of the reps brought to my attention when we went to DSBA to look at that booth, is that those units have side panels on each unit.
Mhm.
And they said what a lot of systems would do is they would get businesses in the county to put their names on them and sponsor them and pay a certain amount, which ended up help offsetting the cost of those units.
That
Kind of like we
is-
do on the football field, whatever company may want to put it on there, because it'd be seen day in and day out. And if we get the portable ones, they're moved to the sports activities and football fields and stuff like that, they can be seen there also.
And that's what we, not so much the advertising side of it, but the moving. These are the newest versions that came out. I believe they had told me October of 24, so it's the newest iteration of them. And they're all portable like that. And that is, the plan is to, like the dual lane ones, where we can move them to the stadium to use them for those activities. So they've got the built-in wheels and all to make it easier to move. But we could look into doing something like that with the advertising. Okay, any more questions about that? Sure.
So looking at the, just looking at the quantities.
Yes.
Um. Six before like elementary school and.
No.
school for,
No, so if you look like the six are single lanes, and those go for different areas, and then we got the two right under that where it's two, those are two double lanes. And that would be to help process students where we see maybe an issue if we only did a single lane. So like one of the ones with the single lane would be the STC and the EOC. That they don't have that volume of students, so it wouldn't be an issue. But the double lanes will, you can scan, I think it's 4,000 students per hour. This is the same system they use at Mercedes-Benz, Georgia Aquarium, and multiple places. I mean, they're all over the place.
yeah, absolutely. So I was just counting units, I guess.
Right.
per se. I was trying to figure out where they would be allocated. So, That's also. But then you talk about dual lane.
Right.
But then you got single lanes that are under the dual lane color.
Right.
So I was like,
It was a little confusing when I first had it too. They had us with having two different middle schools, but it was supposed to be the same one. And there was some confusion with the site person when we did walk here. Because he was thinking we had the old middle school. He was working off some older information on where the STC is now.
Mr. Pitcher, did you feel that this, cost estimate was higher than you expected or lower?
No, when I priced it out and everything, it was actually lower than I expected. The number at first just hit me, but afterwards, when I sat down and did the math, it was actually lower than I expected. There's a lot of advertising that I'd seen in my research was about 2,500 to 3,000 a month per device. And this came in, I think it was like 1,700 per month per device. So it was actually cheaper when I looked at it and got over the initial shock.
Can we anticipate putting these units where?
It'd be in high school, middle school, Creekside, STC, EMC.
We're gonna say, do any of those administrators there have any problems with that?
I don't believe so. She was there when we did the walkthrough.
Yeah, they were there walking through.
So, any more questions about that? All right, and the last one in the safety stuff is our Centigix. I remember last month I told you I left the demo card. Yeah, and you have a whole packet on that. That was, I believe, inside just your folder right there. Last month I forgot to bring the demo card because I came in from out of town and it was on my desk. I'm gonna pass it, right? Button 3 times, you'll feel the buzz. It tells you that you did what you need to do. There is, the last page of that has got the pricing on it. This, one of the suggestions also from that GMA audit was a system where you can lock down the school, make sure you got the way to notify the emergency services quickly. This does that all in one thing. And it locks down, it locks out, it sends that emergency notification to whoever needs it, including law enforcement. We'd say who needed to be notified with that, Dr. Finney, myself, whoever, SROs, principals of that school and whatnot. Yes, sir. Each employee, including cafeteria staff, everyone who works for us. Because as the rep said, and I haven't forgot till he said it, is now it's not just one person watching, it's everyone watching it. Anyone can see something, they can react to it. Yes, sir.
I believe we've asked this question of the reps before when we've seen them at GSBA, but say you have someone that moves from school to school or something like that. Will that system work in any building?
Yes, any of the buildings we have this in, they put in sensors in different parts of the buildings and whatnot. And that badge is, coded to that individual.
So it won't, it's not just specific, your badge is not specific to one school. It can work in any school.
Correct.
Okay.
Because you can also do the medical emergencies with that too, so you need. Previously, where I've been, they've had it, so if you, they had it set up for falls as well. And the parking lot, you could do emergency, so it's secure vessel. You could just do it there, they know where it is, it gives you where it is, it's based off of all the pings and everything, not so much who it's assigned to. Only thing that who it's assigned to is who's setting.
How long is the bandwidth on this thing?
It would cover the whole school, but they would
So
put
what
in
if you
different
were-
sensors.
All right, so what if you were in football stadium and at the high school and you pressed it, would we have to have a unit out there?
They would probably have to have stuff set up out there, just, it's, I think that's a little too far to push. And they probably would want to do that if we wanted to do it that way. So you can set it up to also lock down the internet. We had it where I was previously, all the computers and everything got blocked out, so no one could do anything, you couldn't send anything. It is based off of not so much internet as it is a built-in dedicated cellular network. That's the only thing that's on it. And it goes through however they do their communication. Yes, sir.
I know, kind of think about that. My question has to go back to, know that all about this, these things are.
Mhm.
Okay.
The evolved one, yes. Syntegix isn't portable like that. Okay, I just want to make sure I was clear. Yes, the evolved stuff is portable to do that. And we could do it for football as well. We could talk about with basketball, with baseball, softball, anything like that. Yeah, we want those. Yeah. We're kind of holding on that one right now because there's a lot of conversation with the state that this may be. Want us to pay this money and then, oh, we're going to pay for it, we can't get it. Hold on, we got everything ready, it's just a matter of when the state makes their decision. Okay. All right, the technology update, we planned on having it almost done at this point, but didn't you know the work was the same way that it's going to be? Some nights only have one person. Okay, so they're a little bit behind, they're trying to finish up, we're covered a little bit now, so they're just trying to finish those things up and get it done.
They don't work in a school environment all the time, so they don't have.
Exactly, they don't have the immune system that everyone else is good at. So, just want to give you all a quick update of what we look like on our projects for the remainder of the year. Stadium in the turf, we have the site survey for the new elementary school, do that. But I also have, this summer, we're planning on doing the seating in high school auditorium, replacing that, changing all that new seats. We're going to be rebidding the landscaping, so we're going to bring that new bid to you. We have some painting this summer. It's Creekside Park. We have our bus requests that will go out in accordance with this Baker's online registration stuff, but we'll extend that a couple weeks later into June, which is June 13th, probably 13th. Because in order to do bus requests for the next school year, you have to have an approved OLR. So if those OLRs put off at the end of May, follow that up. guarantee those students have a strong.
Heard anything from the state allotment would be for this year?
We got one.
We were one.
It's not for that. 2 years. Hopefully, we can get better in the near future.
Are we gonna go with gas or the program?
Don't know yet. Yeah, okay, that's because the state, the one bus they fund us is only 8%. So we have to see what the cost of us is, how long it's gonna get. That's so.
You need to make sure you take back when we harsh negotiator, he was chewing those guys down at GSA.
And that's all. Anyone have any questions? for me? No, yeah, we'll be doing that. That'll be coming in next meeting or two.
Will that include new carpeting as well? New flooring in,
Because they'll have to redo the flooring in there for the new seats. Because we're going to add some space on the sides, to make it easier to get. Yes.
what will, with adding that, what will the capacity, seat capacity go?
It will vary depending on the size of the seats.
It's still gonna be.
It's gonna be about the same, but you may lose a couple, you may gain a couple, depends on that.
And we'll
size seat.
still have the handicap accessible in the back.
We have to.
Yeah,
yes.
no, I know that. I just want to make sure we're not losing any of that. It's, when we have ceremonies and things like that, we have a lot of grandparents, parents. Very good. All right, so that will take us to item G5 with the Harris County Board of Education. Listen to a superintendent update from Dr. Penny.
Okay, so the first things I have are some 4 overnight field trip requests, and they're pretty standard. So the first one is January 16th to the UGA School of Music. That's the Harris County High School Band. All of the pertinent information you'll see included there. Lots of details. Next one's January 17th is Harris County Wrestling, Harris County High School Wrestling. And they'll be going to McDonough, Georgia, over the high school for the state duel. Okay, and then state championship duels will follow up after that on January 24th in Atlanta. All of the details are there. And then the final one is the Skills USA State Competition on February 20th. And that's going to be at the World Congress Center. So those are the trips to this one. Next up is, and you've kind of heard all of the assistant superintendents tonight. Kind of give you what our intent was this coming back from the holiday and starting off the new calendar year was to try to give you a snapshot of what the rest of the year is going to look like. And so that's why we've been pretty comprehensive in that. So they've given you kind of a snapshot of everything that they're going to be doing in their departments. Certainly not everything is included in those. These are very hardworking people. Big thing, and we talked about this a little bit, is we'll be digging into the budget now. And, so you all have received a budget timeline, and I'll probably be sending one out again. That budget timeline will be starting Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, the 15th. We're gonna have our first meeting with principals. All of our budgets, all of our budgeting priorities, everything we need to consider. Teacher-student ratio, VIP, funding, gifted funding, all of that stuff we discussed. We're gonna be talking about that and talking going into the budget. And it's been important this year that everybody understands the entire process and how we're gonna make it happen. And so just real quick, the budget priorities are being, you've heard me talk about this. Number one, we want to support instruction teaching and learning. That's one of the elements that wants to our budget. Second one, safety and security. And you heard some different options that we're gonna have that are gonna implicate our budget, with that. Third priority is gonna be a healthy fund balance that we need to achieve. To continue to operate the way we need to operate, especially in case of, really looking forward to this process. It's a challenge, and with everybody working together, we can budget and continue to be able to provide the education. So that's all I have in my. Any action.
That wants to be considered for that, please provide your name to Dr. Finney so he can gather that information.
Will we make nominations on Thursday or tonight?
You will make nominations on Thursday. All right. So that will take us to item H2, that the Harris County Board of Education select a board attorney to serve as legal advisor for the 2025 calendar year. I can say that I do have to have some interaction with Mr. Ellington or Ms. Muriel. And every time I do, they're very prompt. They're very professional. They give us, if they don't know the answer, he goes and finds the answer and gets back with me. So I am very much in favor of retaining their services again. Now, Dr. Finney, I know that you and your staff deal with them a lot more than we interact with them. So what is your opinion as well?
I agree, and I've got a memo here in the book recommending that we continue to use Greg Ellington with Hall, Booth, and Smith as our legal counsel advisor for the 2025 calendar year, because we do work very well with Greg. Greg is very prompt, and so far his advice has been spot on. And he will be the first one to tell you if he's out of his expertise, he'll bring Mariel in a heartbeat. And so they have both been very resourceful for us through some challenging cases. And so they have my trust. So I would recommend we stay with them.
Anyone have any discussion about that? Okay. All right, so that will take us to item H3, that the Harris County Board of Education review for information only the ethical standards outlined in the Harris County Board Policy BH Board Code of Ethics, BH-E1, Board Norms and Protocols, and Board Policy BHA, Conflict of Interest, which governs the conduct of the board and board members as required by law. This is something that we have to review every year, and I believe we sign it, don't we?
Yes.
Yes, so we will have that next week as well, that we need to vote to approve and then everyone sign. I don't believe anything has changed in that policy, has it?
No, there's not been any changes to this policy.
Okay. All right.
Unless when you're reviewing it, if you want to bring up some changes later, we can certainly go through that process of making those changes.
So it is in your packet. So please review that. And if you have any recommendations of a change or anything like that, please let Dr. Finney know so that we can get it in there to consider next week. And if it is a change, I do believe we have to
We
set
would
that
have to go,
down for,
yes, we would have to table it for the month. So we'll have to review it and sign it next week on Thursday. And then if anybody sees anything during that process, then we can discuss the changes and we can then go through the process then.
okay. All right, so that will take us to item H4, that the Harris County Board of Education review for approval of the attached proposed stadium turf bid award memo. And Mr. Fisher's already discussed this with us when he was doing his presentation. Does anyone have any additional questions regarding that? No? Okay. And that will take us to item H5, that the Harris County Board of Education review for approval of the attached proposed Hopewell Environmental Survey Bid Award Memo. Mr. Fisher also discussed that. Does anyone have any additional questions regarding that?
When will that be done?
Sir?
Is that something that's already been done, or we'll vote and it would be done after we?
So we'll take a vote. You'll take a vote. You'll take a vote based on this recommendation and to approve this. And once it's approved as an action item, then we'll notify Southern A&E and they will get underway with the survey.
Okay. All right. So having no other questions about the action agenda, that will take us to our consent agenda and item I1, that the Harris County Board of Education review the attached major purchases report for December of 2024. Not a whole bunch. Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
It's good.
The fuel, Mr. Fisher, is that just topping off the tanks or a normal delivery or whatever? Okay. And refresh my memory, how many fueling stations do we have? I know we have one down here. There's one behind Creekside.
That's it.
Is that it?
Here, it's diesel and unleaded, one at Creekside is just diesel. And we also have the propane station.
Okay, so we have two.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Mr. Fisher, kind of on those same lines on the propane, have we filled those since the beginning of the school year, or are we still running on the same tanks?
Yes, we filled them several times. It's every time you see the green propane in the major purchases and stuff, that's what that is.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions, other questions regarding the major purchases report? All right, so that will take us to item I2, that the Harris County Board of Education review the attached financial report for December of 2024.
So if you'll look at this is still from December. So when you look at that end balance of $282,000, that is the last month of our short balance there, because now the tax money is beginning to come in. So we're going to start seeing that fund balance come up. And so we made it. I would also like to point out that we're 50% of the fiscal year completed. And if you'll look at the percentages down there, we're in really good shape. We're right where we should be. And that is a credit to all of the departments, but mostly the principals. They are doing great in purchasing what they need. I've told them what we're trying to do is do the budget like we're supposed to be doing it. We buy what we budgeted and planned for, and they're doing a great job doing that, because we're about, in most of those cases, about 50% of that budget. So I commend everybody for showing restraint and buying only what they need. If you look down at the East Blost financial report, we're consistently starting to get above $400,000 on our East Blost revenues, which is good. And you can see that our total collections so far for FY25 have been $2,437,000. FY25, yes. And we've got about 6 months left, so correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, but we've got about 6 months left. We can sustain this $400,000 per month. We're probably looking at another 2.4 million in that SPOST account. So that will be really good because, as you know, our SPOST account is also partly implicated and committed to servicing some of our debt, which is coming up this year is our first big major payment on the middle school bonds. And so we're going to have it, if projections hold like this, we're going to have plenty to do that. So that's good. And do the projects that we need to do this summer.
And remind folks that may be tuning in what SPOS money can be used for.
SPOS money can only be used for capital projects that have been, and this is SPOS 6, so it can only be used for capital projects that have been outlined and itemized in the SPOS 6 referendum that we did back in 2020 or 2019. Anyway, so capital projects are things like building, construction, maintenance, school buses, technology was in there. So it has to be for those things that are outlined and itemized in the referendum that the voters voted on. We cannot use eSPOS money for salaries and operational expenditures. And so that's why it's very important that everybody does understand exactly what we can spend SPOS money on.
Correct.
Yeah. And one of those itemized things that we can spend SPOS money on is to service debt, along with capital projects. Yes, sir, Mr. Proctor.
Just out of curiosity, I think this is probably a question for Ms. Sadot. When we start getting in our tax money, is it all up front loaded, or do we anticipate getting money all through the next 6 months, or how does that work?
First big tax check came today, it was 15 million. So up until now, it's only been about $1 million. Our balance now is about 18 million in our general fund. We just got it this afternoon.
Yes, sir. Press the mic.
It's important to point out though, that $15 million check came in January.
Right.
Your ending fund balance was this little bitty figure right here.
Right.
Is why you have to have a healthy fund balance or you're borrowing money. And you didn't get $15 million until January the 1st.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah.
Correct.
People be aware.
That's why we didn't have to get a tan.
Yes.
And remind everyone what a TAN is, please, Mr. Goodnow.
Tax anticipation note, is that right, Ms. Sahal?
Yeah.
It's been several years, because I remember when we used to have to do them just to get through to the end of the year, and then it cost us a pretty penny just to do.
Yeah.
And while I'm on the mic, I was looking at this, and I know we're going into the budget. Do you have any inkling yet as to what our equalization grant might be?
We really don't, but Dr. Finney has talked to some people.
So I've been consulting with a lot of, I would call them experts across the district. And I think Mr. Fisher, you confirmed this also in your finance and budgeting course at GSSA, is that last year we got $2.7 million in equalization funds that we had never gotten before. So it was a major surprise. So we're not going to lose all of that, but we are going to lose about $1 million of that equalization. So we're probably going to get about $1.7 million in equalization. That's the best estimate right now. And at this point, it is just an estimate. So when you start the budgeting process at the bare minimum of what we had last year, there's another $1 million that we're not going to have that we had last year in that equalization. Then you talk about employee paid health benefits, TRS increases, step up on the raise, the salary schedule raises, all of those kind of things. And so it's adding up to a lot. That's why I mentioned earlier that we are going to be working with the tax commissioner to see if we can get a better and confident prediction of any increases that we might have based on the assessed property values and what they feel that assessment is going to be. We have consistently over the 6 years increased in our revenue each year, and we don't see why that would change this year. It's just a matter of us trying to put our finger on what that increase is going to be. So if we can reasonably predict a good number in the increase that we're going to receive, maximize the controls we have on our costs, and also leverage that, then I think we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, because in relationship to that, and which I think a lot of the public doesn't realize, our millage rate is 16.5.
Correct.
But with the equalization grant, which we have in our budget as a line item, is our 5 mil contribution, which is nearly $7 million that
Right.
we give back to the state.
Mhm.
But we were lucky enough to get nearly 2.8 back of that. So, in all reality, if you wanted to say, okay, yeah, our millage rate 16.5, but with the equalization grant, and we return 5 mils, our millage rate's really only about 11 mils.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that we're required by the Georgia Constitution to give this money back.
That's right.
And nearly $7 million is a lot. And I understand it's for equal education throughout the state of Georgia. And I think I questioned this before about if there's ever going to be any adjustment in how they've figured that grant or the equalization figure on how they do it. And I guess that will probably never change.
Correct. From all the webinars I've been on and the conferences I've been to, they say that the calculation will not change even with House Bill 581. That they'll keep the local 5 mil share the same, and they'll keep all of the calculations the same for the time being.
And equalization, we were surprised that we even got it because we had never gotten it before. And equalization is just that, as revenue increases at different rates in different counties. This is a grant that they give back to certain counties to equalize that revenue sharing that goes on. So the way it was explained to me is the reason Harris County got it and never got it before is because some of the Atlanta counties and the North Georgia counties revenue went up so fast and they brought in so much money that it bumped us down into the lower 25%. Not that we are a low wealth county, but we just didn't increase at the rate that those other counties increased. And that's how we earned our equalization. So when people in Harris County are really concerned about the property values going up and the tax rates going up, well, the sheer fact that we got equalization and qualified for equalization shows that we were on the lower end of that spectrum, and that people in Metro Atlanta and North Georgia, the rate of increase on their revenue from tax assessments was going up very fast.
Yeah, but
Hence
that
House
still
Bill
doesn't-
581.
Hence House Bill 581.
Yeah, but that still doesn't stop the state, like say, doing the equalization grant.
Right.
Then when they pass on increases in insurance and, payrolls and bonuses and TR, all that, still we have to come up with.
And that's a great point, Mr. Goodnow. And I think through the 4 public meetings that I did on House Bill 581, the 5 mil local fair share was the biggest surprise to everyone. That we're actually giving 5 mils to the state to be reallocated in those types of grants, sparsity grants, equalization grants, and so forth. And when you boil it down, our millage rate is really comparable to that of the Board of Commissioners, where theirs is 9 and ours is really 11. When you take that local 5 mil share, that was something that was very informative to them, and something that I think once they realized it, they really accepted it and had a better understanding of what we're doing as far as our financial processes.
Thank you.
Do we know if we'll continue to get equalization, or do we think it might cut out again, or is there any way to know?
There's not any way to know, but as Dr. Finney said, it'll probably trickle off
Yeah.
slowly because the rates won't drop as quickly as they rose.
Yeah.
And so next year, we won't get this 2.7, but we will most likely get at least 1.5, if not a little more.
Right. Our equalization for FY 24 was actually determined from the property values and the revenue from 2022. And
Right.
if you remember 2022, everybody was buying a house and property values were soaring. And you can look back at ours, and that was the highest increase we've had.
It was like
was
8%.
was like almost 10% on 2022. So next year it's going to be 2023. And so that's why it trickled down, because the inflation in the housing market went down and everything cooled down. So we're expecting about 1.7 million this year, and we'll probably trickle off a little bit less the next year
And
because you're going 2 years arrears.
That's right.
remind me, or us, when did we get that figure last year? When did we find out? It was right at the end of budgeting.
It was right at
was-
the end of the
yeah.
budgeting. So, that's why we're so heavy right now on trying to get a predictable figure there. And I'm feeling pretty confident that 1.7, 1.5, 1.7 is a good number.
Any other questions
Thank
from
you.
Ms. Seha before she steps down? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome.
That will take us to item I3, that the Harris County Board of Education review the attached enrollment report for December of 2024. And I had a is Dr. Patterson in the room?
She is not. There she is.
Hey, I had a question. Our CSU dual enrollment and our Columbus Technical College dual enrollment, are those numbers averaging where we normally see them? Or are we increasing, decreasing? What are you seeing there?
SAT was not required. It was easier for kids to get in, but we do have an increase.
Okay,
But we have a lot every year.
right. Okay, very good. No, I mean, it's a great thing to take advantage of if they have the opportunity to do it. Because, like mine's gonna leave the high school with a year under his belt already. He'll enter as a sophomore. So that's great on my pocketbook,
Yes.
but
It helps the kids, and that's what's.
most definitely, most definitely. Okay, thank you, ma'am. I had that question about it.
And I'll kind of piggyback on top of that. Do we see those numbers increase from semester to semester, or decrease, or is it a 1 year?
It's not like the course offerings at the high school where we see certain enrollments by the semester. It depends largely on the cohort of kids and what their initiative is. So one year, like one semester, you may have more. Next semester, you may have, in this year, there might be more the first semester. The next year, there might be more in the second semester. We do tend to have a larger number of seniors who will want to do dual enrollment in that last semester.
That
That's
was kind of my point. So this number could go up. Since this is for December, we could see this number rise next month when we get these numbers.
Possibly. That's a trend that's been in place for about the past 7 years. But it may, it may not. It depends on the cohort of kids.
Okay, very good. Thank you, ma'am. Does anyone else have any other questions regarding the enrollment report before we move on? All right, so that will take us to item I4, that the Harris County Board of Education review the attached school nutrition program financial report for December of 2024. Anyone have any questions regarding the school nutrition report? Ms. Baker, I will congratulate you and your team for managing this budget and keeping it on the right side of the bracket here, because there were a lot of years that I first sat on this board that we were writing stuff off. So thank you to you and Mr. Johnson and your staff again for everything that they do on the nutrition side. Oh, I know. I inherited that one when I walked in. I know. Anyone have any other questions regarding the school nutrition report? All right. So that will take us to item J, where members of the Harris County Board of Education share news and information they may have with the public. And this evening, I'm going to start with Dr. Sparks. Very good. Ms. Oliver.
Here. You guys are incredible. Thank you for coming every day, doing what we do, manage people, families, hundreds of them, every day, a lot. And we see you, we are grateful for you. I was in a meeting, 3 weeks ago, with, Dr. Rachel at CSU, and she was telling me some data that's just come out about college students and how they're trying to prepare college students. Now, on average, the average person, Gen Z, will have 5 careers in their lifespan, in their working years, not 5 jobs, 5 different careers. And so we were talking about education, and we were talking about even at the high school and middle school and elementary school. And I was just exhausted. I just thought, how in the world? Education is always changing. It's constantly changing. And I'm so grateful for the people in this room who roll with it and are class act all the way every day. I'm so grateful for you. So happy New Year. Hang in there. Spring break's coming. But we love you guys. Thank you so much for what you do every day.
Oh, Steve, I'm going to ask the question. How many days to the last day of school? Somebody knows it.
Nobody knows?
Really?
Spring break's first week of April, so it's a close.
Yeah, nice.
Mr. Goodnow.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for all the things we received for Christmas and all the goodies and the goodie bags and the poinsettias. And I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Somewhere along the line, someone stuck this, and I don't know if everyone has them.
It's Dr. Sparks.
Dr. Sparks stuck it in here. I didn't know who stuck it in here, but it says, "The time is always right to do what is right." And that was by Dr. Martin Luther King, and I think that's probably appropriate for this time of the season.
Very good. Mr. Green.
I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody. I hope everybody had a great Christmas break and got some rest and relaxation and spent time with your families. And, here we go for the second half, and let's buckle up and finish it out strong.
For the first time, Mr. Johnston.
I just want to say that I am very, very honored to sit in this seat. I am filling the seat of somebody who did it for 8 years and did it very well, but I have been welcomed more than I could ever imagine by this board. I appreciate it. I also want to say Happy New Year to everybody, and I want to say that I am so glad that the seniors are in their last semester of school. And I talked to them when I was subbing, and I always mention how excited they are, and they just start. I am so, but thank y'all for.
Welcome. Mr. Proctor.
He forgot to add, he got to sit next to me too. I guess I should say ditto, ditto, ditto. Welcome back, everybody. Hope Santa Claus was good to you. Like Mr. Green said, let's get to work and finish this out.
Dr. Finney.
Well, I'd like to say welcome back to everybody. Happy New Year. I've had the pleasure of getting to most of the schools, and everybody's back like they never stopped. And Christmas time gets crazy in schools sometimes, but the teachers are already back. They're back into routines. They're teaching. And I got a good vibe the whole time that I was out and about. And Ms. Jenkins over at the middle school kind of summed it up. I said, "So how has 2025 been treating you so far?" She's like, "Well, you know what? let me tell you about 2024. And I thought, oh, here it comes. She told me 2024 was the best year she's had. And that she's going to make 2025 even better. And so I hope and I think and I feel that most people out there are in that mindset. And so, COVID's behind us. Those tough times are behind us. And I think it's showing in the morale across the district. So I thank Ms. Jenkins for kind of boosting me up there. Don't forget, we've got New Mountain Hills visit Thursday. So I know it's kind of throwing me off having both meetings the same week. Pine Ridge will be doing our opening on Thursday. So we're going to get a double dose of elementary school on Thursday. And we're watching the weather for Friday because we are in the impacted zone for freezing rain on Friday. So Mr. Fisher and I are taking a look at that. So there's been a little publication out there that we're watching the weather to be cautious. So more on that, I'm sure. And don't forget, our next meeting is Thursday. So, Dave, our next meeting is Thursday. And that's all I have.
Could I say one other thing?
No,
Okay.
yes.
I do have to make a comment that came to me while we were doing the swearing in. Both my granddaughters were here and I introduced them to Dr. Finney and my youngest one said, "Oh yeah, we know Dr. Finney's out," because she said, "I see him all the time over at my school." So Dr. Finney's out and about.
Very good. And they know who he is? They don't call him Trump or whatever.
I get Donald Trump once in a while, but mainly it's the guy that does the magic tricks.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, Dr. Finney stole everything I was going to say because I'd written it down because nobody else said it, but he got it all. But I too want to welcome everybody back. We've got a great group in this county, and it shows every time we walk in a school, every time we go to an athletic event, every time we go to a theater event or a band competition or whatever. Everybody's working hard, push hard to the end of the year. And you don't, as Ms. Oliver said, you don't go unnoticed. We see you and we appreciate the job that you do. We appreciate everyone up here at the central office, everyone in a support role. The wheels don't roll without the school buses, cafeteria feeding our kids. It's everybody's in, it's all in, or it doesn't work. And everybody does their part. And I'm proud to represent this school system. Everywhere we go, oh, y'all are Harris County? Oh, man. Okay. The promised land. Okay. Well, we know what we have. Let's keep what we have. So Happy New Year to everyone, and let's go get it. So at this time, that will complete our meeting. Does anyone have any other information or anything they want to add? All right, this time I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn for the evening. Mr. Goodnow, second. Mr. Proctor, any discussion? All in favor? We stand adjourned.